Okay, so we can be done with Apocalypse now, right? Right? X-Men 97, Episode 9, Survival of the Fittest. I believe penultimate episode. Last season had 10 episodes, so I'm kind of presuming that. And this does end in a way that kind of demands a coda, like just everybody dealing with the aftermath sort of episode after this. So that's what I'm expecting. Yeah. I haven't mentioned this in my bitching about Apocalypse. Can I just say, for as seriously as not only this show, but the comics also want me to take this guy, every time they do a full body shot, I'm just staring at that giant A on his belt buckle. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I cannot be afraid of a guy with a giant novelty belt buckle. He's not intimidating. He's just oversized and boring. Anyways, I've done my rant about Apocalypse. So this is a very action-heavy episode as we have X-Factor and X-Force teaming up to assault the X-Corp Tower in an attempt to kill Gambit in the hope that that will finally kill Apocalypse because his essence is in Remy's mind and steadily taking over. Simultaneously, we have Beast, Nightcrawler, and Rogue heading to ship to try and find a way to undo Apocalypse. It's solid. It's decent. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a huge fan of the kind of sacrificial leapfrog that kind of happens here because, Remy died in the first place attempting to protect Rogue, and while I'm certain it wasn't his intention to die when he started that whole thing of challenging the giant. I don't think it was Master Mold, but whatever the giant three-headed Sentinel was last season, he did ultimately choose to how he was going to go out and take this thing with him. And now we have in this episode Rogue sacrificing herself to undo his sacrifice that was done in order to save her, and then that sacrifice is sort of double back, and taken by Kurt, Nightcrawler, sacrificing himself to undo Rogue's sacrifice, which was done to undo Remy's sacrifice. And okay, look, everyone who wants to sacrifice themselves, just form an orderly queue and we'll sort this out. I don't know. Characters sacrificing themselves for others is something that I'm not going to say I dislike automatically, but it can frequently be dicey for me. Especially for some reason, the example that is coming to mind right now is Babylon 5 and the character of Marcus. It can really turn me off when a character not just does a thing that results in their death, but knows for certain this will kill me, but it will save this person. And they do it for someone who not only would never have asked them to do that, would have stopped them from doing it if they were asked. That is always something that kind of bothers me, because basically in that sort of setup, you are prioritizing how you want these events to play out over whatever this other person might want. And in some cases, I'm not necessarily saying is the case here, but in some cases, this person would have actively told you, don't you dare sacrifice yourself for me. And I don't know, I feel like it's kind of a dick move to do it anyway, especially if you know them well enough that you should know that. But anyway, this doesn't quite, I don't think it quite crosses the line on that, because that really did make me dislike Marcus as a character. And I had been fine with him. I didn't love him, but I'd been fine with him up to that point in Babylon 5. And then he did that. And I'm like, oh, well, screw this then. Sorry. I kind of wrote him off after that, which was easy to do because he was dead. Anyways, coming back to this, I don't think this is quite that bad, but it was absolutely reminding me of that kind of. I think honestly, the only thing that saves this is Kurt, and I think it's because Kurt's sacrifice. I was hoping. I was saying in my head when the Celestial, which I actually really like this white void and just this unmoving, what it looks to us as a six-eyed face, or faceless face, really, just bellowing, emotionless words out. Nice way to depict the Celestials, honestly. But when it challenged him, I'm like, and how are you so certain that your sacrifice will result in all these good things you say will now happen? I said it in my head. I'm like, tell him because you have faith. Because you have faith. And he did. He used those exact words. They didn't dance around it. And so in literally 5 seconds, this show understands faith better than the entirety of Battlestar Galactica. Sorry. I don't know why other sci-fi shows that I have watched or am about to finish watching are catching strays this review, but here we are. But like that is a very, in some ways simplified, but that is a very honest depiction of faith. And what I like about it is not Kurt deciding that somebody else living was more important than him living, or that like he couldn't live without Rogue or something like that. It was rooting it in his faith and his fundamental belief that I believe this will bring about the most good. I have faith in that outcome, therefore I will do it. Honestly, is probably the thing that saved this entire self-sacrifice conga line we've created here. Because if we hadn't ended on that note, I'd probably be more actively annoyed, and I'd be saying, no, this is basically the same as the Babylon 5 thing that annoyed me. But ending it with Kurt and having it be rooted in that, as opposed to the sort of, sacrifice out of romantic love or pain at the loss of romantic love or what have you. And, not that those are bad motivators. I'm just, it's one of those things that especially ticks me off when it's like, I'm sacrificing myself because I love you. Well, okay, but now you're not going to get to be with them. I don't know. It becomes a whole thing. Anyways, got to move on from that. Kurt kind of saved that. As far as the action scenes go, they're fine. It tries for, some really heavier buildup by having things like Havoc, go toe-to-toe with Jubilee in the jets. I really did like the moves Jubilee pulled to best Havoc. That was some cool stuff. They are doing her justice in this show, which is really nice to see. But it doesn't carry quite the emotional weight that they want it to. Same with Polaris facing down a bunch of members of X Factor. Honestly, same with Cable facing off against Jean and Cyclops. It wants it to have more emotional weight than it does, and I don't think it's because it's badly executed here. I think it's because just the format of half-hour episodes in a 10-episode season just didn't have the time to really build those relationships as much more than being on paper. Like the one that comes the closest to working, appropriately enough, is Cable, Scott, and Jean, and I'm largely going to put that down to the voice actors there doing their best to sell it, but there just isn't a lot there. Like intellectually, both Scott and Jean and I know that Cable is their son, but like they don't really have a relationship with Cable. That's part of his whole stoic badass thing. Nobody really has much of a relationship with Cable. It's part of why I hate him. But, they're trying. They're giving it their best. Gambit, sort of coming back briefly, was nice. God, did I hate his design when, Apocalypse took him over. I'm like, oh, God, that sucks. Very 90s overdone. So appropriate for what this show is. But, didn't like it. Thought that was terrible. And I actually really liked the moment of Rogue having pulled Apocalypse out, just handing this thing that has trapped Apocalypse essence to Cable and being like, look, you have been dealing with this guy your whole life. I think you're going to be the best prepared to figure out what to do with this. And I think the main reason I like that is it reframes his destiny and his mission to defeat, destroy, whatever, Apocalypse. It reframes it in a way that does not necessarily mean violence. He now has this thing to deal with. What is the best way to tackle this? Presumably, it's not to destroy it. Presumably, that'll free Apocalypse. So it takes violence off the table, and while I don't necessarily expect the show to explore what that means for a man who has built his entire life around violence is what I have to do in order to fulfill my destiny. It is at least setting up a really interesting journey for him that I just expect we'll never see. But I did still kind of like that as a closing note for him in this. I'm not sure I have that much else to say. It went for a fair amount of spectacle, which worked decently, but small moment that I just liked. Psylocke getting the psychic blade in on Wolverine and him just going, nah, sorry, honey. Somebody else beat you to it. This brain's already scrambled. I'm like, yeah, no. That tracks. That's him. The captions did spoil that the first Wolverine we saw was Morph, though. Because they put, like, in parentheses, Morph. And I was trying to figure out why that was there. And then the fight started, and another Wolverine showed up, and I went, oh, right. Okay. God, somebody get on top of the captioning. Like, watch it. Like, this is oddly enough, again, to bring back Battlestar Galactica. This was another odd detail, because one of the characters in Battlestar Galactica, I'm just running with the tangent, deal with it, is named Athena, but that's a name she chooses. And she doesn't choose that name for a while. But the captions, like for multiple episodes before she even picks that name, I think the captions for the entire season where she eventually settles that name, if she's off screen, with like parentheses, Athena. People, pull it together. Anyways, X-Men, episode 9 of season 2 of X-Men 97. What'd you think of this one? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills, enables me to do this as my living, even if you can't help me out that way. Like, share, subscribe. They'll help. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. And now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Jared Boyce, Zubin Lutfula, Daphne Matthews, Kay Johnston, Auntie Kate 808, Mira G, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Snark Shark, Oliver B, Mystic Shadow, Sean Miller, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Magdalena, Melissa Pedersen, Becky Sparks, Twilord, Tracy Scrabbit, Palba Rabajoggle, Sir Didymus is my favorite, and additionally from the lower tiers of support, I'd also like to thank Isabel Lovelace, Hey Chica, and Lee Campo. What are you guys doing? Oh my goodness, who's back there? Oh, Worm, why do you do this? Ah!